the next bet of the 2021 season, right? The next bet I think is gonna happen is I think the Clippers, right? The Clippers are going to make the Western Conference Finals, right? Now you're probably thinking like, dude, didn't the Clippers get worse in the off season, right? And the Clippers are basically cursed, so they will never, make it out of the second round. Well, I'm here to tell you that I'm betting on the Clippers make it to the Western Conference Finals. And the reason why is 'cause I actually think they maybe improve their team, right? And you're probably thinking like, dude, like how did they improve their team? They just lost Montrezl Harrell, their sixth man of the year, right? Player. They lost, some depth, Jermichael Green and some other guys, right? I think like deep down they actually improved their team because Serge Ibaka, I believe, is better than Montrezl Harrell. I believe Luke Kennard is an underrated pickup. I mean, Luke Kennard was balling out for the Detroit Pistons, but people don't really care because the Detroit Pistons like weren't really that good, right? So I mean, he was putting up like some good stats. I think he's better than Landry Shamet. So with the addition of him, it's gonna be, let's see. I mean, who's even the starting point guard, right? It's gonna be Patrick Beverly. It's gonna be Kawhi, Paul George. Who's the four? Well, the Morris twins, and then there's Serge. I mean, that's their goal, right? So Luke Kennard coming off the bench. Uh, Lou Williams is still there. I mean, I still think they need to trade Lou Williams. I mean, Lou Williams is he's a great, he's a great scorer off the bench, but I mean that's just basically it, right? I mean he's always negative, like plus and minus, always negative in the playoffs. He always gets exposed in the playoffs, so it's usually people just ship him off to like another team, and they once they ship him off, they dramatically improve. So what's that to say there, right? I mean the Clippers, rightfully so, they got like super cocky, right? Thinking that, with Kawhi and Paul George, they got it in the bag, right? I mean, there's that time where they were talking about, hey, we might get booed in their own parade. Like, dude, y'all didn't do shit yet, so I don't know why you talking like that, right? So, I mean, they probably were thinking like, dude, like easy, easy. LeBron James and Anthony Davis, like, easy. Like we got this. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And we got 2 6-man of the year candidates, right? Which is ironic, which ironically is, Montrezl Harrell doesn't really play defense, right? Doesn't really play defense. All he does is really score. I mean, he's not really I mean, he'll get you rebounds, but it's not really kind of a great rebounder, right? I mean, he's solid, but I mean, I've seen like games where he just doesn't box out whatsoever. So he was getting out rebound. So it seems like this guy's motive is just to score all the time, and that's how he got the 6-man of the year, right? 6-man of the year with like 19-7. I mean, I thought that he shouldn't have won 6-man of the year. It should have been Dennis Schroeder. So now there's an interesting dynamic of now Dennis Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell on the Lakers. So we'll see how those guys come in next there. Is it gonna be another Lou Will kind of Montrezl Harrell situation where those guys are averaging like 19 points and stuff and whatnot? Because the Clippers, right? They have like 4 players averaging like over 18 or something like that, right? And that's why like the expectations, like, okay, so if you have this much offense, then right, it shouldn't be an issue because your main attribute of the team should be defense, right? You got 2 elite wing players, and their defense was not good whatsoever in the last season. Like their defense was such a disappointment, and obviously the reason can be contributed to chemistry issues and whatnot because those guys are just injured throughout the season, right? Patrick Beverley was injured. I mean Kawhi, he had some issues with his injuries. Paul George is like, whatever. He got injured. Something about his shoulder. I don't know if that's an excuse. I mean, I can't tell Paul George sometimes. Paul George seems like he's a good, second role, like a secondary player to have, right? He has all the skills and attributes, great wing length, he can shoot the three, and whatnot, great handles, like everything. He just has some consistency issues, right? But if with it all season, Paul George just looked kind of like a little bitch. I mean, not gonna lie. Like Paul George just deflecting blame and blame again. Hey, Doc had me, basically just stand in the corner and shoot threes, and that's not my game, right? Like he's deflecting blame whatsoever. Like he went from yeah, we got a championship caliber team to later on after they blew that 3-1 lead. This was not really a championship or bust, season. Which is a horrible thing to say, right? I mean, dude, if you're Steve Ballmer and you traded everything, you mortgaged your future for Paul George, right? And this dude said, hey, this wasn't really a championship or bust season. That's basically like a slap to the face of the owner. Dude, I literally traded all my picks for you, right, to win a championship. Why the fuck are you saying this is not a championship or bust season? So, there's that. Paul George just signed a max deal. Good for the Clippers, right? Because if they didn't sign Paul George or Kawhi, they were going to be fucked. They just mortgaged their future, and there's going to be some dark times for the Clippers again, right? Because the Clippers have been bad for a very long time. There are really some dark times for the Clippers, what's his face? Sterling era, right? Where they had some super trash seasons, and this is with Corey Maggette, this was with Elton Brand, Olo Candy. I mean, who else did they have? They had Chris Kaman. I mean, dude, the Clippers have seen some bad times. It's like some dark times. Pretty sad, right? I mean, the Clippers, these new Clipper fans don't even know. Mostly Clipper fans are just Lob City fans, right? Where there's Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. They haven't seen the old Clippers, with Lamar Odom, with Casino Mobley, and those guys. Those Clipper teams were just trash. And obviously, a lot of that can be contributed to injuries. I mean, obviously, Sean Livingston, busted up his knee real bad. So he was looking pretty good for the Clippers. And then, after that, Sean Livingston had a period of time where it's dude, will this guy ever play in the NBA ever again? It was that bad. And then he has resurgence in, the Brooklyn Nets. And then he signs with the Warriors and, basically wins chips. Right? So, the Clippers, I'm thinking they do make the Western Conference Finals. I mean, Luke Kennard is way better. I think he's just way better than Landry Shamet. And Landry Shamet in the playoffs, just the bubble playoffs, he didn't look good whatsoever. Right? I mean, Landry Shamet was, not hitting open shots. And I mean, the Clippers are just really lacking a lot of playmaking ability. I mean, they still got Reggie, I believe. I mean, I'm feeling that there's gonna be some buyout candidates this year. So, we'll see how this mitigates the Clippers' troubles. But I still think deep down they improved their team. I mean, we'll see. I mean, first of all, the Western Conference Finals, I believe, should be the Lakers against the Clippers again, right? that's the prediction again. But now it's up to the Clippers to make it up because after blowing a 3-1 lead, I still am a firm believer that the Clippers should have blown up that team and just kept Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, or possibly trade Paul George because like after blowing a 3-1 lead, you really need to fix that team because once you blow a team, once you blow a 3-1 lead, like you're basically never the same after again. I mean the morale's low and whatnot. The mind games and stuff. It gets kind of an issue where it needs to be fixed. I mean, just think about it. Like every team that's blown 3-1 leads, like the teams are usually get blown up, right? I mean, just think about the Warriors they blew a 3-1 lead. Like all their depth and players that contributed to their last season's championship, they're gone, right? Kevin Durant takes their place. Whole team dynamic shifts with Kevin Durant. Who's the other last 3-1 team, right? You got the only thing on top of my head is the 2006 Lakers. Kobe blew a 3-1 lead, right? But sure, you can give him kind of a pass in a way, but you really can't because he had a 3-1 lead. So that whole Laker team got blown up like a year later, and then they became championship contenders, right? So you really need to fix the team morale and everything. Just have a new team identity, right? So I'm not really a fan of the Ty Lue signing. I'm pretty okay on the Billups. I think Billups should have gotten a chance elsewhere, but whatever's right. They should bring back that Billups entrance, right? Billups. So expectations of the Clippers, it should be championship or bust. I mean, it's just that simple, right? Like you have 2 All-Stars. You have enough pieces to make a run for the West, right? So, I'm expecting Clippers to make it to the Western Conference Finals. But if they don't, then basically, they're done, right? I mean, this was it was either last year or it's gonna be this year, right? Their time is limited. So, good luck to them, right? But if they really don't make it to past the second round, they really curse, right? There ain't nothing you can do about it, right? Just move the team out of there out of Staples. Maybe it's the Staples Arena. I don't know. They got a new arena like Inglewood or whatever's. Move the team, right? You're cursed. You can't do shit anymore about that.
Yeah.